My name is Ariana, and I am the health coach for Integrative Family Medicine of Asheville. And normally we do a community class series each month. And this month we wanted to do something different. And so we reached out to Keith Wimsett, personal trainer and owner of Inspire Personal Fitness, a great local gym, to see if we could just do an interview kind of conversation around how can we keep moving in the cold this winter with everything that's going on right now. Starting off at the beginning, what do you feel like folks can be doing right now to exercise inside when we've got the weather we've had today where it snowed and then it rained and then it snowed again here?
Right.
It's like, what do you do?
Right. Well, it's definitely one of those things where, we've got to just kind of think things out a little bit differently. Whether somebody's never worked out and they're just trying to get started, or maybe they've been working
Yeah.
out at a gym, but now it's just not, they're not feeling safe to go back, or whatever the case may be. You do have to kind of get creative now. I know some of us maybe don't have a lot of space to work out if we're staying indoors.
Like me.
Yeah, that's right. Like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
My wife is in the same boat. She does workouts from home a lot of days. I mean, she try. So in our gym, obviously, we do have small group training, people actually
Yeah.
in person,
Yeah.
but we also do virtual training as well. And so she does a mixture of both. But I mean, when she's home, she's got probably 4 feet by 8 feet to work
Yep.
out in.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's just trying to, you know, look at it a different way, but also don't let that be a limiting factor. I mean, it's
Hmm.
so easy to just say, I have no space, so I'm just not going to do it.
Hmm.
We got to kind of think that out a little bit differently and try to find better solutions. And I'm certainly hoping to maybe show you guys even just a few little things you can do at home today. Uh,
Yeah.
and even things you can do with little limited space. Maybe there's kids around. I mean, lots of different things that way. But I think the biggest thing is kind of shifting that mindset first and saying, I can make this work. I just got to make a plan for it.
Hmm. So shifting attitude first, even if you can't go to the gym or, as we've talked before, I live in a small space, about 400 square feet, with a 4-year-old son, and doing yoga is kind of like, the yoga with goats, but it's a 4-year-old on my back instead of the goat. It's still cute, but it's also very challenging.
Right.
And so the biggest, step forward is starting with your mindset, having an attitude of, okay, how can I get creative and what might be possible in my space? If I've got, you know, a 4 by 8 spot of floor and there's a kid that's going to be around, well, what could we make happen?
Right.
And then make a plan. And you feel like that's kind of a really good step forward for folks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first step. I mean,
Yeah.
you just have to get your mindset right, because if you're already giving yourself all the excuses in the world not to start, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
space or kids or time or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you're already halfway to not doing it basically at
Yeah,
that
it's
point.
true. Well, and I
Yeah,
think what you just said really, I feel like dials into this basic human tendency to fall into an all or nothing mindset.
right.
We get used to how we do things. We get used to the rhythm of going to the gym before work or, whatever it is. And then when something like a pandemic comes along and disrupts that routine, it can be really hard.
Right.
Or when, the cold weather starts, it can be hard to figure out how to keep going. And sometimes we just stop. But if we can think creatively and take a step back, it's like, oh, it can still work. It just might look different.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is you just said it. It's like it may look different.
Yeah.
I think we all have this idea of what fitness should look like, or in whatever that is, whether it's going for a walk or a hike, or going to a gym, or doing a class, or working
Yeah.
with a trainer.
Yeah.
It may not look like that anymore, at least not right now, and that's okay. I mean, maybe you're used to going to the gym and spending an hour and a half on the treadmill. You don't have that kind of time anymore, or a gym to
Yeah.
go to for that matter.
Yep.
So maybe your workouts now look like 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but that's what you can get in and that's what you can do. And it's okay.
I think that's really a big game changer. And I don't know that you meant this, but ironically, that's kind of been the arc for me in my own personal life, aside from my coaching and supporting other people, going from, on my lunch break, I go for a 45-minute run.
Yep.
maybe, or I go and lift weights for that time. Instead of that, it's, let's do 10 minutes of yoga in the morning, and then I'll try and get in a 10-minute walk at lunch, and maybe I'll jog for 10 minutes at the end of the day. And I just know, okay, that's going to add up to about 30 minutes, and that's better than nothing. And it actually is really nice. It's like kind of a different pace to do a little bit of exercise throughout the day.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
still feels great.
Right.
Yeah.
I did that today. I just had my day
Yeah.
just got really stacked up. And I was like, wow, I just have all these appointments all of a sudden. But they were all important. But what's also important is my fitness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I own a gym. I work at a gym. Doesn't necessarily mean I have time to work out every day.
Yeah.
But I did. It was 20 minutes, and I just kind of tried to challenge myself and said, I've got 20 minutes and I'm going to get it in. And I did. And, would I have liked to have done more? Well, I guess that's like is a relative word. Could I have done more, or would I have liked to have done more? Sure. But I mean, I did it. And now I can
Yeah.
say I got my workout in today. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And then habit wise, from a coaching perspective, doing a little bit consistently just is going to feel better than
right,
not doing anything at all. Because, not only do you physiologically get the benefit of those 20 minutes, but you've done something. So your mind kind of notices that and you feel good about that.
right, right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a kind of almost an important second step, if you will, is creating
Mm-hmm.
that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what
Yeah.
we're really talking about. If you work out one day, it gets a little bit easier to do it again, whether it's the next day or 2 days later, depending on how you're
Yeah.
spacing it out.
Yeah.
It's that whole taking that first step just kind of gets the ball rolling and all of that. But I do
Yeah.
think it's important. I don't know where people are coming from who might be watching this interview. Again, if they're never worked out in their lives, or they've been working out, but now it's really inconsistent or non existent for the last 10 months, just understand that our brain and our bodies might be in two different spaces right now.
Yeah.
The brain may be it's New
Yeah.
Year's,
It's true.
it's resolution, it's goal time, it's go time, and the body's like, I haven't moved in 8 months. I'm feeling
Yeah.
sluggish. I'm
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah. Yeah.
heavy. I'm feeling whatever that might
It's
be.
snowing,
It's
all of the
snowing,
above.
cold. I just don't want to do this. And
Yeah.
so, it's okay if there's that gap there, but just trying to develop some momentum around it, even if it's going for a 30-minute walk. If
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing you did to get going, because, the nice thing about living here is, yeah, it's snowing today and it's cold. Tomorrow it might be 50. I don't even know, but
Exactly.
it could be a warm day tomorrow. Go walk
Totally.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
You're absolutely right.
I think it's just getting moving too, is kind of like get that mindset straight. And now you got to take that next step of moving.
Yeah. So changing mindset and kind of having this sense of what is possible in my life right now. If
Right.
I could move, what could that look like? When, for how long, how much space do I have? And then kind of thinking about how to make a plan so
Yeah.
that you're writing it down, you're kind of really codifying what you want to do or are
Right.
going to do, and then thinking about how to build momentum through consistency and through even just small steps. It's not about starting off with running 10 miles or, doing high intensity interval training for 30 minutes. It's like, what can you do now and then do that and build up over time.
I think that's one of the things I see too a lot of times is, I'll be meeting with somebody who's wanting to get started. And of course, we always talk about, well, what have you been doing? What have you tried? And a very common one I hear is, well, I started running. And of course, I'm
Hmm.
asking, well, why? And they're like, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do when you want to get in shape? And I know you and I have had a past conversation about this. I don't like running. And so that is not what I'm going to choose just to go do. But I understand that there's that kind of mindset of,
Yeah,
well, you want to get in shape, you start running.
totally.
But the problem is, again, if you haven't been exercising, to just go running can be one very challenging, but it also be very defeating. So I think it
Yeah,
is important to just really understand where you're at and being okay with that, and just take and starting slow. And again, even if you were a runner but you haven't run since March or whatever, hopefully runners know you can't just go back out and run 10 miles today, because that's just not going to happen.
that's a really insightful approach that, it's like what is your stereotype of what exercise should be? And do you even like that stereotype?
Right.
Because a lot of people have in their minds, like you said, exercise is, well, it's going for a run or going to the gym, but they don't actually like going to the gym or they don't like running. And and so if there's a form of movement that you actually like, well, you should maybe do that. And then don't start off going from like 0 to 60 miles per hour. Be kind to your body. You give
Right.
yourself a chance to scale up. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I'm the opposite, that I love running so much because it's a very consistent like endorphin delivery for me. I
Yeah.
like it. I like the deep breathing and being outside, all of it. And so I am more likely to not do other exercise if I can't go for a run
Right.
because
Right.
I'd rather just run. I fall into the same like all or nothing where it's like, well, I can't go for a run because I don't have time. Oh, I guess I just don't have time to do exercise today. And
Right.
I have to be so careful to be like, wait a minute, there's yoga, there's,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
do lunges
Exactly.
and sit-ups and push-ups, you could do some stretching. There's a lot in between, nothing and running. Yeah,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
And again, for me, I'm more of a, I like to lift weights and those kind of things.
yeah,
However, I will say this, I've been walking more, than I ever have these past 8 or 9 months because, for a while there, even my gym was closed and I didn't even
yeah,
have access to it and those kind of things. And
yeah,
so I had to say, well, what can I do? I was like, well, let's go walk the neighborhood and let's
yeah,
do things that we enjoy. And when we talking about kids, guess
yeah,
who went with me on my walks? My
yeah,
kids went with me on my walk. So it was a
absolutely.
wonderful time to do something together.
Yeah,
So, and I've kept that up. I mean, we,
yeah,
we actually went for a 2 mile walk yesterday.
that's
You know?
fantastic. And
Yeah.
then it's you creating a culture of exercise with your kids, which
Yeah.
it's a different thing than just going to the gym by yourself.
Right.
They both have their pros and cons. And similarly, I'm not running in Carrier Park doing
Mhm.
my 4 mile route, but my 4-year-old son and I figured out that if he gets on his Strider bike and goes down the driveway with me, and then I can use it. We have this whole rope set up, and I'll pull him up the driveway, kind of like jogging pretty slowly because we want to be safe.
Sure.
And then we'll jog back down together, and he'll ride his bike down together, and
Right.
we will do like a mile and a half together that way, and it's
Yeah.
still a workout.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. It's
Yeah,
something
and
like
he
a
loves it.
workout.
He thinks it's hilarious. So,
Yeah.
but that's one of those things that it never would have occurred to me, A, to run up and down the driveway, B, to incorporate my son into how I run like that.
Yeah.
And so that's been a useful departure from normal for
Right. Right.
yeah.
Well, so over the weekend, that reminded me, uh, we just couldn't we were at the apartment. I live in apartments.
Hmm.
We would just walk this loop around the parking lot.
Yeah.
But each of the apartments have stairs on the outside. Every
Oh,
time we got to a set of stairs, we'd walk up and down those stairs. Then we'd walk down and walk up
nice.
me and my 8-year-old. But again, it was that whole idea of just, hey, look, we probably went up and down a flight of stairs like 20 times over the course of
Totally.
those couple of laps, and so,
That's brilliant.
and my legs were burning by the end of that. And she was
Huh.
like, and she was all happy about it. And so, yeah, I mean, and I think too, I hear a lot of times people say, well, I'm at home, I have my kids. Again, like that's an excuse. To
Yeah.
me, and like what you're saying, what I was just about, it's actually can be an opportunity if
Yeah.
you really look at it. Again, if you shift that mindset,
Yeah.
I have kids with me. What can we do together?
Yep.
Now I'm modeling good behavior with them. We could just sit around and watch TV all day and eat popcorn, or maybe we could get up and get active and do something fun together.
Yeah.
Even just playing tag in the backyard with your kids. I mean, that's a cardio workout right there. So,
Depending on the kid, man, it really is. Yeah, no, I think that expanding the concept of fun and expanding what exercise can look like seem like the big takeaways here. So, you know, playing with a kid outside with your child or with a friend even, if you're doing social distancing, but figuring out some creative ways to be outside playing and or inside. My husband will like practically he'll like do lifts and little bench presses with our son and
that's right.
the little one giggles the entire time. He thinks it's
Oh,
hilarious.
sure. Yeah.
Um, but I'm curious, you'd mentioned earlier that maybe if there was time, you could do a short demonstration of some exercises that
Yeah.
someone could do if they don't have a lot of space or if they're at home. Does that feel like something you'd want to kind of show
Yeah,
us right now?
absolutely. I kind of, so we've got, and I know we were talking about, we have this kind of beginner's exercise guide that we
Yep,
put together, and I know you mentioned you were welcome, you were happy to
absolutely.
give people access to that. It's
Yep.
totally free. This is one of the workouts from that. So
Okay.
just kind of give you an idea, because it does use some weights, but I can tell you, if you don't have like dumbbells at home or something like that, plus they're actually very hard to find right now, which is crazy.
I've heard.
So hard to find dumbbells these days. It's like
Yeah.
this national shortage. But
Yeah.
anyway, think about this. I mean, again, this is where we have to get creative. Grab cans of vegetable, vegetable cans, and use
Oh,
those for weights.
oh, that's a
And
great
then,
idea.
yeah, I know people who've taken their kids' backpacks because they're not going to school right
Oh,
now,
wow.
books in them and picking those up and things like that.
Absolutely. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, so I'm gonna this some of these require I have some weights, but just keep that in mind. You could be doing this with cans of green beans instead or whatever. So
Okay.
um, I don't know how much you'll see me. I mean, I'm going to back up
I'll
just
let
a
you know.
bit.
And
But
then while you're getting set up, I'll just reiterate that as we post this interview to our social media pages, we're going to share a free kind of home workout or a link to sign up to get a free home workout guide from Keith Wimsett of Inspire Personal Fitness that'll give you kind of a variety of at-home workouts to do as you're beginning to exercise from home. And it's free. So that's what he's demonstrating from.
yeah, exactly. So this is just one where, and there's strength workouts, there's cardio workouts, there's a
Cool.
flexibility routine in
That's
there.
great.
Just kind of, I hope, people will find it to be a well-rounded thing.
Okay.
So let's just think about like, no matter where you are fitness level, these are exercises that most everybody should be able to do. One of the basic ones is just squats. So let's just imagine, I'm going to turn a little bit to the side.
Okay.
I'm just going to squat down, back up, trying to get as close to parallel if we can. I a lot of times tell people if you have a chair, use that, like almost sit into the chair, but don't put all your weight on the
Yeah.
chair. Touch that chair and come back up.
Okay.
So maybe we do that 10 times. I'm going to grab these weights I was talking about.
Okay.
The next one, so I've got my weights or my cans of beans, and I'm going to hold them here. And I'm just going to press overhead.
Okay.
Again, we're going to do 10 repetitions of that. Take those same ones, or if you've got a backpack or something that you can pick up, get into a nice flat back position, my weights in my heels. I'm going to then row with those weights for 10 reps, right? And then I'm going to use this bench that I've been sitting on so you can kind of see this last one. This would be on the floor.
Okay.
It's bicycle crunches. So I'm here, crunching from one, elbow to knee. Notice I'm not pulling on my neck.
Mm-hmm.
Just going here. I know the camera's a little bit off.
We can see you though.
Yeah, but again, it would be 10 reps on each side. So that's one cycle. If that's all you can do, 10 squats, 10 overhead presses, 10 rows, and 10 bicycle crunches, stop there. If
That's
you
great.
want, do it 3 more times, if you want. I mean, it's just kind of whatever level you're at. But those are just some
Awesome.
very simple things. Again, I moved around a little bit. I could have done all of that in a little 4 foot by 4 foot square if I needed to.
Absolutely.
So just, again, like we talked about, just starting simple. And of course, there's push-ups, there's there's planks, there's all kinds of other core exercises you can do. But that's just a very simple one right there that, again, you could do in probably 10 or 15 minutes if you went through that 3 or 4 times.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to back up a little bit. What I would normally tell people is, we need to warm up a little bit. Don't just jump in and start doing squats and things of that nature. But a warm-up could just be jogging in place slightly for a little while, or doing what we call skaters, where you're kind of moving side to side, just different things like that. Leg swings, which I can show you real quick. That's just, you're just going to be you might have to hold on to something and just swinging the legs, about 15 or 20 times. Doing different movements like that can just kind of activate your body. And then, of course, you finish off with some stretching, toe touches, any kind of stretch you want. Like as I mentioned in that beginner's guide, there's a flexibility routine that you can follow. So, but again, none of those things should require a lot of equipment. They don't require a whole lot of space,
I love the idea of using this like soup cans or, like coconut milk cans as it would be in my house to lift instead, or, I guess that's brilliant. And I think that just what you showed seems like it could easily be either 5 or 10 minutes or 15 or 20 minutes, depending on how you chose to do it at home. And what seems useful, I mean, just from my perspective, is to know what to do. I think that that's part of what the gym offers is you go and you have like the circuit you do on the machines. And like, this is the machine that I am working on biceps. And this is the machine that I am working on abductors. And then you're at home, you're like, I don't know what to do. I'll do
Right,
some
right.
push-ups and
I
then
don't
I'll
have
watch
an
like
adductor machine in my apartment, so
exactly. You haven't already figured it out. And so having just even, first do this, here's how you do it, then this, and then you're good. Seems like it would be useful.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And obviously there are a lot of options out there that weren't even out there before. I mean,
absolutely.
when this all happened, the first thing we did, we pivoted to offering all our workouts online,
Yeah,
working live with a trainer. And I know lots of other gyms did that too.
yeah,
There's, there's plenty of like online workout programs where it's pre-recorded, so you're not necessarily getting to work directly with a trainer, but you still have that. I mean, and so but at least you have someone showing you how to do the exercises.
absolutely. And I
Yeah,
think that I think that having that guidance gives structure, and where there's
yeah,
structure, it's easier to have a plan
right,
and just a mental sense of this is what I am doing.
right.
Yeah.
And when you talk about having a plan, one of the I, I'll say one of my favorite quotes. It's a quote I use a lot. It basically they say is like if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And that's the
Yep.
thing. I mean, whether you're trying to change how you eat, whether you're trying to start an exercise routine, whatever the goal is,
Yep.
you have to have a plan. And
Absolutely.
but there's so many resources to find plans, whether it's the beginner's exercise guide
Mm-hmm.
or joining an online class or
Yep.
pulling something off the internet. There's so much information out there. It can get overwhelming, but you just have to kind of decipher through it a little bit.
Well, and part of if you can filter down from what feels overwhelming, focus on what's within your control, shift your mindset, think creatively about what is possible in your life. If you don't want to be outside, then think creatively about how you can use your space indoors, or go to this beginner's guide that'll be linked up with this video and pull from that. If you're outside, think about starting small and scaling up, all the things we've been talking about today. And then if you can write that down, I know I've heard you before talk about how if you write down a goal, you're like 45% more likely to actually achieve that goal.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um,
And yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say from my health coaching experience, part of the emphasis of the coaching I do is on getting people to think through, what do you want for your health and why, and what specifically is most important to you right now, and then how do we plan for that? And a lot of the planning and the goal setting is about getting the brain to start thinking and visualizing, like thinking about doing it and talking about following through and imagining the benefits that you're going to feel from doing that,
Yeah.
and then just visualizing how it could work and what you need to help it be a successful goal.
Right.
And what that does is it gets the brain believe, part of your brain is believing you already have done it just by visualizing yourself doing it. And it again solidifies that plan. And I think that that can be really useful.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if we had tons and tons of time to talk about this,
Yeah,
that
we
is
could
a
dig
big
deep.
part of it is that visualization and just kind of looking, what do I want my life to look like a year from now, even,
Yeah.
let's just say,
Yeah.
and kind of working your way back from that. I mean, there's obviously a whole lot of mindset training around that, but that's crucial. So,
Yeah.
and then, I do think another final piece to this is, once you've got your mindset right, once you've got your plan, then then another part, and I think this is where people sometimes start and then kind of sputter and don't keep going,
Yeah.
is not having some kind of support or accountability around it.
Mm-hmm.
Support could be anything from a friend that you check in with on by
Yeah.
phone or on Facebook Messenger once a week. Did you get your walks in this week, or
Yep.
whatever it might be. I've even seen, it's so funny. In my neighborhood, I've seen people walking on both sides of the road. They're
Absolutely.
walking together,
Yep.
but staying plenty distance apart.
Yeah.
But they're keeping each other accountable.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's working with a trainer or again getting a workout buddy. Those are possibilities too. But the other thing I would say, and this one's a little more scary. I mean, it's one thing to find a friend that y'all can kind of hold each other accountable or work with a trainer or whatever, but going public with it is another kind of a mindset trick, if you will, that just can really hold you accountable. I actually went public this morning on my own Facebook page about some of my goals this year.
Oh wow.
It was a business goal, a personal goal, Well, two of them were business goals, but then one was a personal goal. And I just
Yeah.
said, putting it out there, so people know.
Hmm.
Um, I'll give an example though. I had a friend over the summer wanted to start walking. She knew she needed to lose weight and just didn't feel healthy. And she just told people, I'm going to start walking and I'm going to track it on here. She was using her little Fitbit or whatever to show how many miles she had gone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was uncomfortable for her. And I'm sure she thought at times, well, what if I quit walking? Then everybody's going to think I'm a failure or whatever. Well, she kept walking. She worked up to where at one time she walked 12 miles in one day.
Wow.
12
That's
miles in one day.
incredible.
Yeah, but she was averaging like 10 to 12 miles a week. This one day she just went for it and just went long. But she's also lost like 35 pounds since she started that
Wow.
process. And
Wow.
here's the thing, and this is what I noticed that was amazing to me. She posted it on Facebook. Today I've lost 35 pounds through this
Wow.
process. You read through the comments, nobody's sitting there going, what a loser or whatever. I mean, everybody's just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We're so proud of you. We're so thankful.
Yeah.
I felt great reading them, and I wasn't the one who did it. I can only
Yeah.
imagine how she felt.
Lots of positivity.
Yeah, so don't be
Yeah.
afraid to put yourself out there. I mean, if
Yeah.
you have a support system, friends or family
Yeah.
or both, they're going to support you through this, especially when you're trying to make positive changes in your life. And
Especially right now.
yeah, especially right now when we
Yeah.
can't necessarily be physically gathering and being around everybody,
Yeah.
you know, getting that support, even if it's on Facebook or whatever it might be,
Yep.
whatever platform you use, it's huge and it can be a real help too to kind of keep you going, you know.
Absolutely. And that's part of why we wanted to have this conversation is thinking about what is within our control, as people right now to do to build our health, to do what we can to boost our immunity, to boost our well-being. And there's a lot that's not within our individual control in terms of the pandemic and COVID-19 and vaccines and socio-political events. And there is a lot that we can be doing. And yet when we're outside of our normal routines and we're not connected into loved ones, it's even harder sometimes to feel motivated to move. And yet exercise boosts immune function and offers a whole bunch of other mental health benefits aside from the physical
Absolutely.
benefits. And so that's the heart of why we wanted to have this conversation, is because as much as we can help inspire our patients and community to be moving right now, it feels like a positive way to try and support people in their health.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I do think, keeping your immune system strong, especially right now. I mean, the winter time's always hard on our immune system
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So whatever you can do to boost your immune system, and exercise is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do, this time of year, it's so, you know, Asheville is so gray for like
I
3 months
know.
out of the year.
I know. Like right
It,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
it can get depressing,
Yeah.
You add a pandemic on top of that where we can't even see other people, it can get real depressing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that exercise is so good for producing endorphins and just feeling better about things. And again, be able to have that, if you can include family time in that, if you
Mm-hmm.
have a spouse or children or a significant other, it's just
Or
all,
call and talk to somebody while you're walking. It
yeah,
just,
absolutely.
yeah.
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 That friend that I was talking about, she actually said that. She's like, if you don't live here but still want to be on it, I'll get on the phone with you. We can walk together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, again, she was thinking way outside the box on that kind of stuff, which was
Yeah.
amazing. So, yeah.
It sounds like she was really motivated and she really followed through it. Have
Right.
you had any advice or strategies that you've seen be successful for people in bridging the gap between knowing I should get out and walk and actually, doing the walk or the hip hop dance class or whatever it is?
I mean, there's a variety of things. A lot of stuff we've already talked about. Just
Yeah.
even just making the plan
Yeah.
is a great first step. Writing it down is a great first step. Another thing, if you use any kind of calendar, whether it's a physical one or an online one, scheduling in those times to move, whether it's a
Mm,
walk, doing some
mm,
squats, doing a plank. If you
mm,
put it in your calendar and treat it just as important as any other
mm.
appointment you have that
Yeah.
day, again, it's just, if you don't, how do I, I'm trying to think how I want to put this, if you don't make a plan for it. If you don't put it in part of your calendar, then all these other things that come up throughout your day are going to be more important to you in your mind.
Yeah.
But if you put your exercise, whatever that is, if you make that part of the daily plan or the weekly plan, then it's just as important as that thing that's going to come up at 2 o'clock today that we don't even know is going to happen yet or whatever.
Right.
It
Because it'll
just,
be something.
yeah, we're so, it's so easy for us to put ourselves on the back burner because we have to deal with whether it's kids or work or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You've got to put yourself in that, you have to make an appointment with yourself. That's what I usually tell people. Make that appointment with yourself and then do it. Then because if you put it down in your calendar and then you don't do it, it's amazing the level of like guilty feelings you kind of feel about that. And sometimes we have to do that to motivate ourselves, a little bit of risk versus reward kind of thing.
Yeah. And
So that would be one easy thing you can do. Put
that's
it in.
great. Even just, as you said, making an appointment with yourself. So planning ahead for the week and plugging in, like, when can I make it happen on Monday and on Tuesday and on Wednesday and on Thursday? That kind of, it sounds like that helps just psychologically, helps you to track the detail along with all the other things you're tracking. And if you don't do that, then part of what happens is like you have the thought and maybe you forget as much as anything else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my phone alerts me when I have another appointment coming up, just like it alerted me that I had this appointment coming
Yeah.
up. So when it pops up and says workout, I'm like, oh yeah, I scheduled that.
Better go ahead and get it done.
Like, dang, I guess I got to go do it now. But it does work. It has a real psychological effect to it. It's an appointment just like anything else. So I'm not going to skip it.
I think that's really humanizing or normalizing the way you just said that oh dang, I've got to work out, and it's like you're the personal trainer. And so there's like there's this realization of kind of context here where even people who are incredibly fit, who are passionate about exercise, have that feeling of, I mean, I maybe I'd rather just keep doing what I'm doing, or I'd rather do it later. And it's about how we work with that thought
Exactly.
that transforms the next step, whether you do get up or not.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I want to be respectful of your time here and go ahead and say thank you so much for doing this interview with us.
Absolutely. I
Really
really
appreciate
appreciate it. I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Anything I can do to help spread the word or give somebody some encouragement, I'm happy to do it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge.